All right, so welcome back, and this is week 4. We are going to continue talking about human anatomy with a more focus on the head part, the facial and head part. All right, uh, let's just turn that. Okay. So to construct a head, a character head, is an important, the most important part, feature, and this technique, this skills have twofolds. It means that you need to know the inside out. All right, you need to know the skull, familiarize with the human skull, what supports and the muscle group as well, and as well as you're gonna also form this ability to simplify this complex task, because you think about that, a human head is quite subtle with lots of substructures, organic looking. You need to be able to simplify the shapes, the complex shapes and forms into more understandable geometric forms, and such as this diagram shows. All right, so we as visual artists, we always trained this way to form this habit of observing complex form and shapes into more simplified, summarized bit. All right, so that's the idea. And of course, what's underneath those substructures is the bone structure and muscle structure that supports all the features of the human head. So this is that thus you can have you can create a very compelling, believable human head. All right, and so I think based on depending on what kind of characters, cultural and heritage came from. You might need to incorporate a little bit more, added a little bit more features into your characters underneath structure, especially the bone structure. It's generally you have these 4 types of race. There's this on the surface of Earth. You have European Caucasians, you have African people, you have the East Asian, and indigenous Australian as well. And these are some of the main main traits of those racial differences in terms of bone structures and some of the. This could be quite neglectable, but you as the creator, artist, sometimes for the story, for what kind of character and story you want to tell, you probably need to dig a little bit deeper in this on this side. As you can see, these are the main differences. In terms of skull shapes, you can see that Caucasians are much higher skull, and Asian, African are shallower, and the Asian is in the middle, whereas the Aboriginals have the most kind of shallow sort of skull shape. And in terms of some features, so like Europeans, from a side view, European skull is much straight. The facial features are quite straight, whereas the Africans, the mouth part is more protrude. The East Asian people are less of that, but the Aboriginals has almost the same as African. And in terms of eye socket, you can see that Caucasian has a deeper eye socket, whereas the Asian has a much less shallowest eye socket, whereas the Aboriginals have a large, more angular sort of eye socket, and whole shapes of the eye socket and the nose. These are very subtle differences, so maybe you want to incorporate that into your. So those are proportional differences. You might want to incorporate that into this. For example, Leslie, your skeletal, your character is a skeletal one. Based on your current sketches, it's probably going to based on the story of maybe European or Northern Norwegian sort of mythology. And so if that's the case, you might, when you construct your skull character, your skull character, you don't have much leverage about, because it's a skeleton, so you don't have much leverage of shapes and forms to change with, to sculpt with. But this sort of proportional sort of traits, you might want to incorporate that into your design, into your sculpting. All right. Another important part is the eyeball, and one of the misconceptions is the eyeball is ordinary people consider eyeball as a simple sphere, but it's not. It's actually a fuse of two spheres. One is smaller and curved. One is large, curved. One is smaller inside that curved sphere. That occupies the 1/6 of the whole volume, and has a radius of generally 8 millimeters in the diagram, in the size, and it's transparent and is called. So there's parts that connects those two spheres, which we call it one is called cornea. The other one is called the scalar row segments. And there's a connection between these two spheres, which called the limbus. These are some of the features. It's actually you can download a free one from, if you search online, you can download a free one. But it's better to maybe construct your own one so you have better understanding of the eyeball. Once you construct the one, you probably can reuse that across your different characters of your designs. But have to understand, but more importantly, have to understand the features of human eyeball, what it looks like, what's the subtle substructures of those eyeballs. All right, and there are more details like pupil, iris, limbus, and sclera, and it's more concerns about the look. We are pursuing some kind of realism, so that's why we need to aware of those structures. Those subtle structures will be reflected at the light, and added more details of the human eyes. So like sclera reflection, SR, is diffuse due to the uneven surface of sclera, the white bit of the eye, and the corneal reflection is a very sharp reflection, and behaves like a complex, like a convex spherical mirror. So it's the highlights, right? It's usually when we do the paintings, usually we eventually do the highlights part to make the eye more sort of realistic. Limbal reflection, which is a subtle reflection between the pupil and the scleral. And the tear fluid reflection, which is quite subtle along the eye, the edge of the eyelid. Sometimes it could be quite visible, especially with those structures at the corner of the eye. If you look at the just grab the so sorry, I'm gonna bring it in. So if you look at the so you know the Unreal Engine's MetaHuman, you can see that these are CG characters, but the level of realism it can achieve is quite stunning. can see that, or the what we're talking about, the eye structure, it will address that all in this sort of construction. But for a 3D artist, those things, that means you have to, in your model, construct those subtle structures to make sure that it's there for when later rendering, added lights, added the shadings, it will actually accommodate those features at the level of realism. All right, so that's about that. And also, you need, again, the ratio differences as well. You might want to think, incorporate that. So it's from top to bottom. It's from Far East Asia to like Middle Asian, all the way to Europe, Caucasian. You can see that the upper eyelid usually in East Asia, so mainly Japanese or Korean people, the upper lid, the eyelid almost wrap around the lower eyelid like this, and the Chinese and the Middle East usually are half wrapped, whereas the Caucasians, the lower inner eyelid is more visible, obvious, and also the distance between the eyebrow to the eye is getting closer and closer. That's the differences. All right, so that's why when you design a character in the different cultural and racial backgrounds, you might want to reflect those traits, and so that to differentiate the character's background. But in this case, you can see that it's not so much, but Mulan, it's the angle of the eye is more emphasized rather than the feature we were just talking about, right? And so once you understand those subtle structures, those details of human eyes, you can see now, even with the traditional animations, drawings, you can see that the artists, although they characterize them, kind of exaggerate them, but still you can see how they draw, the artist understand the inner structure of those eyes and try to improvise, try to extend, try to exaggerate them. All right, so except for the Winnie the Pooh, it's just 1, 2 dots. All right, but the others, you can see these subtle structures, and then showing that they understand the anatomical anatomic level of a cartoon character. All right. And so the eye shape is a good way to actually emphasize on the personality and characteristic of your character. I found this website, which is quite have a lot of details talking about the different eye shape, suggest what type of the characters you are supposed to address. The usually upwards angled eyes in my usually were applied to a kind of villain type of character. The sharp angles make the character appear more intense, while the slant of the eye may appear aggressive even during the relaxed state. On the other hand, the downward angled eyes with droopy sort of lids that shows a kind of a relaxed passive character. And in this example, you can see the round edge gave a sense of softness to the face. Character may seem perpetually sleepy or calm. All right, so the if downwards angled eyes without droopy upper lids that often appears innocent and the passive character as well. Those are typically calm in personality. And extra thick lashes with lots of makeup and that will increase the with the eyelet, increase the thickness, and that will gives it a sort of flirty sort of appearance, and that represents a heavy makeup as applied. Round shape, round eyes is usually common to seeing as innocent, naive, and bubbly character. Extra large iris and the pupil give the character a cute appearance, with the round curves and the lack of sharp edges make them seem easily approachable and gentle. So these are the formula you can employ and in your character design. These are the proved case formula utilized by some big studios, and I think you can also apply to your characters depending on what type of character you're designing. So other things like some subtle things like the body fat and so different body type. It's just, as I said in last week's, that the bone structure is pretty much fixed, but the way differentiate them, you need to know how the fat on the tissues are applied or stored, piled up underneath the skin and hanging at what area. So it defines the overall shapes, overall contours of that particular body type. All right, so as indicated in this diagram, you should see the mantle and submental fat compartment are demarcated by the submental and hyoid ligaments. So those soft tissues, soft part, usually deposit around the cheeks and the necks to differentiate them. On the face, you can use pretty much using this sort of diagram to help you to actually shape up your character on the face. So that's how these superficial fat pads deposit on the face in one way. Those are very subtle things. Those are very detailed, subtle things, all based on you construct the whole face already, but you want to build up more details, and this is helping you. Where do you apply those pulling and pushing those vertices, and try to construct the facial features, facial characteristics. All right. Nose, another main feature of the face. So classic nose is from like Michelangelo's David. So this is simplified version of that, and from various angles. And you might want when you start to construct yours, you might start with this simplified version. How do the classic sculpture reflect the overall shape, simplified the overall shape of the nose for you in this way. A Greek character's nose is considered the most sort of classical, straight. You see the brows line are very straight as well. So that's the bridge of the nose, and the wing of the nose is tiny. And you can use this to help you to understand how do you arrange your topology, your face age, and face of your character's nose. And still, we see maintain the overall simplified geometrical shape, and the rest of the subtle structure is on top of that, gradually developed that, and that's how you crisscross the edge to form the topology of that. So this diagram may help you to construct your characters nose better. And with different age group, the nose shape changes from sort of a small upward pointing sort of a flat nose and gradually elongated and gradually protruding forward. So that's the age differences, the development of the nose bridge, tip, and wing. Right. Depending on your story, and some of the animators' character design is rooted in the background, story background. For example, in this one, it's about mid Central American story, Mayan story. So the whole character design, its nose, its facial characteristics came from the mural carves from the Mayan mural carve. You can see the influence. So sometimes you want to borrow those shapes and forms from those cultural heritage. All right. Again, so now you see those cartoon noses. Although they are very simplified drawings, some of it just some even can't recognizable, but you can see that how the drawers understand the features and with simple drawings like that, but still very convincing, very compelling to understand this is a nose feature on the face. Mouth is another major part of major facial features, and different gender has different characteristics. So like a female mouse is kind of sort of poking, poking out, and poking is more fleshy, and like this. And again, you can use that as a reference when you construct your one. Maybe help you to understand the subtle structures. So this one is more particularly detailed, and those subtle structures, which one is wrapped around which one. You might not get into that deep, but still, this helps you to understand those features of human mouse. And the male mouse usually sort of thin. The lips are thin and flat, not like the female human mouse, and that's what it looks like in general. And that's how the digital sculptors try to use the polygon lines to help them understand the underneath structures, subtle structures of human tissues and muscles and the structure. All right, and yeah, it's a tedious job. It's a kind of those nuances you need to incorporate when you do your sculpting. Again, so that's the exaggerated, characterized drawings of different mouse. But you can totally see the differences, right? Some are aging, some are different genders, different age, but because they understand that well, so their drawings are simplified, the anatomy still reflecting and very compelling about the human anatomy in an accurate sort of way. And one interesting fun fact is, if you constructing if we want to do a villain type of character, this is the formula those major studios use. As you can see, usually a villain character will have some sort of very crooked nose, very high-rise eyebrows with heavy mix-ups, with a tiny pupil, a large area of sclera areas, and shallow sort of, but with eye lines, sort of eyelid, and very thin sort of lips, almost invisible. And when they smile, they show teeth. And so these are the formula like Disney or any other studio, big studios sort of employed, try to reflect the personality of a villain type or evil sort of type of character. And say you might want to borrow those ideas, those formulas, employ those formulas. Also small ears as well. You can see the large jaw. These are the facial features based on the understanding of the human anatomy, and they exaggerate that, and they utilize that for particular story or particular characters' traits. All right, ears you can summarize into this sort of two shape. One is upside down G shape, one is kind of Y shape, two major group. So that's the ridge of the ear, and depending on the level of details you want to construct. But this is generally summarized for you. So when you construct that, although it not necessarily too accurate, but in general, if you incorporate when you construct your ears, you have this sort of sense of that two distinctive shapes interlocked each other. You are deemed to look good for a human ear, although the actual construction could be very time consuming, could be very complicated. This is how they arranged the kind of radius sort of edges, polygon edges around the center of the ear. So this might be you can learn from this sort of configuration. So other parts is like the jawline will indicate age quite effectively, and because when you age, young person, the fat and the tissues are pretty elastic and deposit on the jaw, above the jaw. But when as age developed, they start to lose its elasticity and start to sagging, and the jaw fat like sagging, so breaks the jaw lines, and thus indicates that's a good indication of aging. And so the jawline usually be some sort of several saggy sort of curves along the jawline. So that's the same thing, right? The aging of the lower face. The jaws is a bunch of skin sitting along the jawline, and either drop or slack lower than the jaw. The sagging skin is due to age-related reason, loss elasticity of the skin, loss of facial fat, the absence of which causes skin to drop. All right, so these are the skull, bone, and surface kind of surface skins. But you also need to study a little bit about the muscle groups. These are the muscle group. Again, you are not medical students, so you don't really need to maybe memorize all the actual name, but you need to know the overall basic structure of the facial muscles, and more importantly, the direction of movement. And so generally you have three circular muscle groups surrounding the eye and mouth. All right, you have kind of vertical muscle groups on the forehead, and some diagonal muscle groups on the cheek, attached to the cheekbones and to the lower jaw. and a circular muscle group surrounding the mouth, and some small vertical and all diagonal muscle groups wrap around the jaws. And more importantly, you need to know their movements directions. So like the eyebrows, those vertical muscles, you contract upward so that you form the wrinkles, and those diagonals of muscle group contract this way so that you form some bulginess when smile or angry, and the muscles surrounding the mouth contracts or backwards or forward surrounding the lips, and at the jaw area they are moving downwards like this way. All right. These are the major feature of the facial muscle groups. So understanding the underlying muscle before modeling the skin, how do they move, and more importantly, their direction, and understand the relationship between the muscle and the wrinkle. So in general, wrinkle are perpendicular to muscles moving direction. So that's why you have parallel wrinkles around at the forehead, because the muscle is vertical and contract that way vertically, whereas the circular muscle group around the eyes, because it's circular, so it contracts, extends that way. So that's why you form this kind of a radiate sort of eye wrinkles around the eyes. All right, and depending on the level of facial expressions, you as the designer and maybe later animator, you need to be aware of those key points of the facial feature. How do they move when in different facial expression? What's the in general relationship between its neutral stance and its designated position of different facial expressions? So like the smile, you can see that differences. The eyelid kind of pushed forward, the lower eyelid pushed upward. The noses changes as well, making a shift. The corner of the mouth making the shift upwards as well from the smiling line, and some of the lines underneath the eye. And these are the, because it's three-dimensional, we as 3D artists have to aware what it looks like from various angles, dimensional angles. So like the corner of the mouth when smile, it's dramatically moving backwards and extended. So this way, right? You're gonna later while I will show you in 3D animation. Sometimes you need to construct all the different facial facial expressions, and sculpting the facial expressions, and later use the blend shape techniques to actually shifting between the different facial expressions in animations. Later I will show you the effects. But in that way, so that means you have to construct all those details, moving and shifting of the facial features, pre-shaped that. Right. That's the smiling in terms of the mouth angle, how it changes and how it forms these smiley lines, and how does the shape changes from neutral to smile, significantly contract backwards. All right, so and form the bulginess in the cheek. All right, form some sort of bulginess and then of the lower eyelid, and the distance between the nose and the lips shrink as well. Sometimes it forms the crescent sort of eye shape when smiling. All right. When in rage and angry pose, you won't see that. You don't aware that it's actually changed dramatically. So like this is the relationship between the mutual shape, neutral expression to angry expression. As you can see, the eye squinted, everything kind of squeezed together. And whereas the mouth, when the mouth open and mouth dramatically, almost the lower lip almost reaches the jawline. That's the side view of that. And the muscle group in the brown eyebrows area, we have these three major small muscle groups. How do they how do they move and form some kind of wrinkles in the middles and bulginess in the middles? The lower muscle group actually push upward, the upper one push downwards and form this sort of wrinkle features of human eyebrow. And when in puff, that's how the muscle group works and forms this sort of bulgeness of the mouth. These are the very subtle things and the tedious. If you have to study in scrutiny to understand that, and when you construct that later, so this is the. Although I found that it's initially when I construct this material, it's actually free for you to actually have a better visualization of the anatomy of the human head. Although recently I found it's nowadays it's not free. It's you have to subscribe and pay money, and that doesn't matter. It's actually you can always find an alternative. I found that this website called zygoterbody.com, and you can have even interact with that. You can start with the full body skins, and all the way down to the muscle level and to the bone level, to even the neural level, the internal organ level. So that might help you to have better visualize of the human structure, especially with the hair. And I think that website could be helpful. So to avoiding any charges, I will paste that in the chat so that you can grab and play with that. All right. And, so thinking about that nowadays, with the modern technology, you can study the human anatomy sitting in front of your computer and try to study the human anatomy at your comfort. Whereas in the Renaissance time, the masters of Renaissance like Michelangelo, they are risking to be accused as heresy to study human corpse at midnight in the graveyard. So that's the convenience of living in a modern age. All right, and you can thinking about the human facial expression as some kind of primary colors, ingredients. You have neutral, anger, disgust, fear, joy, and sadness, and surprise. I found this online resources that summarized for you. These are the extreme expressions, only like a primary color on the palette. Never animated with these six facial express alone. It's a mishmash of all of them that will tell the story better. But use them as reference. All right, those are six general facial expressions together with the seventh one, which is the neutral one. And so later, when you actually want to do facial animations, you're going to use the techniques called blending shape in Maya to do that. And you have to sculpt every of those facial expressions. Like you can see that this is one of the projects I did from Monkey King. So you have to, for like blink of the eye, you have to blink left and right. You have to raise the eyebrows. You have to left and right as well, or both. All right. So squint eye, left and right, and you have to sculpt individually. Duplicate from the original neutral one and sculpt them individually. Usually the upper face pose these many, and a lot of the expressions gets expressed through the eyebrows. All right, so eye and eyebrows are critically important because true emotion communicates through upper face poses. Those are the upper face poses. You can add it more if you think necessary. All right. And the lower face poses are listed here. So basically the mouth shape, especially when you want to do lip sync, you have to construct the different mouth shape for different pronunciations. And so centered around mouth, mostly associated to lip sync. And so as you can see, this is the what I did with the mouth smiling, both mouth angles upwards, but one side, the other side. If it's a frowning, so it's kind of downwards, and for sneers or that, and some of the special mouth shape for a particular sound, like U or U shape, you have to construct that, and F shape and M shape. Let me just show you in the actual file. So that's the one I'm using. So this one is already shaped. So if you move the eye control, you can move the eye, and you can rotate the head. All right, but the shape are all here. All right, so you can move the jaw, open them, and so those shapes I already did. It's actually in here. I show you. It's in here. Right? And so using the blend shape techniques is incorporated into this base shape so that you can manipulate its smile. You can do that, and you can do just one side, and you can frown, and you can also do sneers. All right, U shape. All right, the M shape, F shape. So this is how you, but each of those shapes has to be constructed, has to be sculpted. All right. So the combination is endless. So you have to combine all those basic shapes. You are mixing the shapes to construct the facial expressions. It is up to you to be creative and innovative. So like give you some example, eyebrows raised, mouth tilted, suggest a kind of naughty, childish smirk, whereas the mouth smiles, but the eyebrows are lowered, suggest an evil kind of smile. All right, so the combination is endless. This is Washington University's research group. It might be interesting to see how do they kind of using computer to generate different facial expressions. It's the combination of the six we're talking about. And some of the tips, the target blending shape you created are extremes. So that's an animation term. Those are the extreme keys. You need to mix them just to mix color. They get confused to look at mirror. So I always emphasize in the other course as well. You as an animator, you are also an actor. So you have to sometimes study the facial expressions on your own. A lot of animators, before they do the animation, they are actually acting out their animation on their own. And when you do the facial expression, usually they just look at the mirror and try to act out the emotional changes, emotional facial expressions. A famous case is like the facial expression alone can tell a lot about the story. So like the Charlie Chaplin has a famous scene about using the bread roll dancing scene. I'm not so sure whether you see it. I'm just trying to bring it to you, maybe. It's the very famous scene of that. Let's watch it together, maybe. He just uses the foot pose and the facial expression to connect together. So that's just some uh, interesting performance of using facial expressions to tell the story. So watching actors face in movie, especially those early silent movies, yeah, in which acting often totally depending on facial expressions. Facial expressions are asymmetrical. Uh, so when you animated head, before animating head, you need to animate the before you animating face, you need to animate the head. Still head is horrible. Head motion should accentuate and emphasizes the facial expressions and dialogues, such as nodding and bobbing. And the head to one side might show curiosity. Head shakes when disapproval. Head turns in arc. It's usually has a dip in the middle. When turning, there is actually an arc, and there are a anticipation as well. We turn left, a slight turn right. So it's showing that when it's turning, so it dips in the middle. You can see it's kind of dips in the middle. Right? So does the eye rolling as well. Dips in the middle, forms sort of arc. All right. So that's animation principle. One of the animation principle is arc. All right. So the eye are the mirror of soul. We always say that. So the eye contacts keep the eye focused on the subjects, and when in conversation, eye contacts are frequently off a fraction of time, and constantly staring is abnormal. Looking away might means the character becoming embarrassed or invasive. And confident people makes frequent eye contact when talking. All right, so these are some tips for animating. Well, we are not there yet. Well, we are but having those in mind helps you because you're designing the character for later animations, and you have to have aware of those. So the eye direction and thought, based on many psychological researchers, that each thought triggers an unconscious motion in the eye. The eye direction left and right and the level up, middle, down can reveal and associate two characters' thoughts. Usually left is remembering, right is constructing, up is visual, middle is sound, and low down is emotion. So give you some examples. The eye direction of thought, constructing an image when eye rolling upwards, right side is constructing the image. But if it's left side, maybe just remembering something. All right, so construct in the middle level by constructing a sentence or fabric align. In the middle level, if to the left, and then maybe just remembering something that was said. And if it's rolling lower level to the right, maybe shy, embarrassed. To the left, maybe an internal dialogue. I blinks every 6 of kind of the interval can be 6 or 8 frames. 4 frames is fast blink, 20 frames a sleepy one, dumb one, or every few seconds it's show alive. People tend to blink when turning the head. I tend to look at the direction of the head turning. And the eyelid is also could be very expressive. Keep eyelid 100% open is either shocked or surprised. So normally it's 80% opening. That's a normal relaxed eye opening. Warm personality opens eyes wider. It shows intelligent and attentive. If it's the eye pushed to a crescent, it's a smiling eye. Squinted eye usually indicates the character is angry and despise. So the pupils are often overlooked, and the eye dialects from moment to moment subtly in real life. So the bigger pupil show more innocent and childish kind of character. Smaller pupil to be less trustworthy, as we said before. The studio, the villain pupils teeny tiny. All right, so the depending on the light situation, more light, smaller pupils, less light, bigger pupils. One of the important aspects is the topology of the facial age flow or face flow, and where do you strategically place those pores? We call it pores because it shares multiple ages. We require you to do a quads all the time, do quads, but sometimes it's a bit hard to organize the age flow at particular points. Hence, you need some strategically place those pores to actually fuse those different age flows at particular points. This video express that about that aspects of the topology arrangement, basically for 4-sided quads. All right, let me just watch that. Can you hear the sound?
No, I can't hear the sound.
Okay. How do it? I forgot to share the sound. Oh, okay.
Of topology and how it relates to 3D graphics. When creating geometry in 3D applications, we'll use polygons, NURBS, or subdivision surfaces. Whatever type of geometry we use, it will be made up of either patches or components like points, edges, and faces. The way these components are connected together and the flow around the surface of the object, well, that's the object's topology. The topology is not necessarily related to the shape of the model. As you can see, we can create a sphere using a variety of different topological flows. For polygonal geometry, we can think of topology in terms of the type of polygon faces, the type of vertices, and the flow of the edges. Polygon faces can be 3-sided triangles, 4-sided quads, or n-gons that have 5 or more sides. Now, depending on your pipeline, there may be a requirement for geometry to only be triangles or quads. Vertices can be defined by their valence, or number of edges flowing from that point. Vertices will often have 3 or 4 edges attached to it, but it may have more. A pole is a vertex with more than 4 edges flowing into it. These points occur when geometry flows down into a single spot, as on the ends of a sphere, or when trying to merge together edges flowing in from different directions. Now, poles can be problematic because as we smooth the geometry, adding more and more polygons, the poles will never be eliminated and can cause visual artifacts. Now, in some cases, poles are just unavoidable, and in these cases, it's often advisable to move those poles to less conspicuous locations or areas of less deformation. The flow of edges is an important aspect of topology, as it lets us define shapes in various ways and allows us to create models that will deform in very specific ways. This can be especially important when building characters. For instance, we may need a model of a character to smile for a particular shot. The face may look fine in its default state, but as you can see, modeling a smile with this character will be difficult because of the poorly laid out topology. We can use a variety of tools to reroute the topology to better accommodate the type of deformation that we want. By building the face with an edge flow that mimics the muscles and skin of the face, we're able to get a more natural looking deformation. Other areas to be aware of for the topology are places like joints and areas of defined musculature. So when you're modeling, make sure to think about your object's topology and how you can modify it to get the best shape and deformation.
So as you can see, it's intimately related to the anatomy under the skin, the muscle structures, all that, and try to avoid any artifacts and making the distortion when you animate it more smooth, more accurate. All right. So if you have time, this is a quite old YouTube videos. I think it's decade old. So this guy starting is experts in arranging the topology of human form. It has heads, hand, bodies, all that. And I think it's worthwhile to have a watch on that. So to see how he approach to that particular topic. And you can see that from this snapshot, you can see that how he arranged the topology according to the underneath muscle structures. Usually it's circle around the eyes and mouths, and try to create kind of edge flow and placing the poles around the strategic places to make the edge flow more interlocked neatly. And you can probably using this snapshot to help you to arrange your topology of the facial features. And in the simplified, they have a simpler version and a more complex version of that. All right, and my take of this topic about placing the poles, I treated the three-sided poles as convex point. So those points that is protruding at the corner, around the corner, probably going to use the three-sided poles, whereas the five-sided poles usually for concave points. That usually you can see that it's usually surrounding because the circular muscle around the eye at the adjacent tissues, and so you have these socket places, and you need five-sided poles to place there to try to indicate that the underneath structure. All right, so these are more so surrounding the nose, eyes, and mouth, lots of and ears, lots of these five-sided poles. Whereas the three-sided poles is more at the corner, whereas the corner protrude out, three-sided. Right? So that's how I understand where do we place the poles, choose which poles you want to place, want to construct it. So this is the actual this week's YouTube tutorial. You can see that it's the same. Surrounding the eye area is usually five-sided pose, whereas at the back, at the corner of the skull head, or even the ear, it's a three-sided pose. All right, that's pretty much I want to talk about theoretically. And any questions? No? All right. So just without further ado, I think you go to this week's tutorial part. So this week's tutorial, I curated this particular simple examples of constructing a very cartoon style head, which I think is quite helpful. You can this video even doesn't have sound, but it shows you how he take the approach, starting with a very stylized cartoon character such as this. He starts from the middle profile of the face and gradually arrange the from single strip, gradually extended the edge sideways and line by line and wrap around, sometimes using a sphere to help him wrap around the eye, construct the eye, which I think is quite useful, quite good, and then merge vertices to connect them, to connect the substructures, and I think that's a good example because no sound. You can see it doesn't even use shortcuts. It just tried the whole throughout the video try to click through the menus, which I think is a good way for beginners and helps you to understand where do you find those tools to construct the stylized cartoon character such as this one. All right, and also if you like, it also tells you how to do the UV layout of that one particular character, Yeah. Alternatively, if you like, you can view my tutorial, starting with the drawing of mine. But this is fairly old because I did it several years ago, quite a long time. But my approach is slightly different from the YouTube video one. I'm starting with a single piece of polygon face, and starting with
Also, we would like to delete this one.
starting with the eye and
You should
the
understand
mouse
why doing this. You want
first,
to
and then
just
gradually
right-mouse click,
just
select the vertices,
insert more
select these
faces,
two,
insert more
maybe
edges
select the
to come
four,
up with
then
the face
yeah,
features.
make
That
this
way you are
center.
addressing the
Select that tool one more time, select that edge,
addressing the topology
and
issues
select this
in advance
edge,
as well.
press enter.
So
That way-
either way, it's you make the decision. But I suggest that this one is maybe a more appropriate for you because it's for a cartoon sort of style, sort of character, which is quite helpful, useful. All right, and yeah, without further ado. What do you mean, not right now, Chloe? Oh, okay, sorry. All right. All right, so yeah, do the tutorials and yeah, and I'll be here. And if you hit any technical issues, problems, give me a yell. I'll help you with that. All right.
I've tried starting to build my character. Would I be right to show it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, I'll share it now.
Stop share.
So this is what I've got so far. I've built the rib cage and the spine.
Okay. Oh yeah. Wow, quite detailed.
Yes. The spine was quite difficult. I didn't want to do too many discs because that would probably become a bit overkill,
Yeah,
a bit ridiculous. But so far, I think it looks okay. I think the
yeah,
skull's going to be the challenging next part.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I said before, because you are a skeletal characters, and there are not many leverage for you to incorporate more features. So maybe the overall proportion. So it's a Caucasian, right? It's a Caucasian.
Yes, that's correct.
So you might want to incorporate that feature. So we're talking about at the beginning of the slide. The face, you might straight eye socket is a bit more more deep and all that.
Yep. Okay then.
Good. Chloe, how about you? Do you have any progress to show? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, let me have a look if you like. Doesn't matter. Huh? All right. Good. 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 It's a stuffed doll sort of a character. Is a kind of like a stuffed puppet, stuffed doll sort of like character, right? I don't know what to call it. It's just like a yeah. Good. So you haven't started with sculpting it yet. All right. You're just constructing the sketches. Good. Good. All right. Yeah, I like it. But for this one, for the moment, for a concept art, you have the dress and the head. But also you might for the model sheet, because I can see you want to construct the side view and for the model sheet, it's more about the without those clothes, what's the body shape looks like, and what's the skull looks like, and you might need to construct an extra model sheet for your head so that you have more detailed about facial characteristics. At the moment, your current one, it's half obscured by the hair, hat, or that. So it might not quite useful for reference. And to actually sculpt it in Maya, you need a more sort of down to the almost like a down to the nude body sort of level of the character, rather than this fully dressed and fully disguised with the heads and dress code. Yeah, yeah, good. You're on the right track. but need a little bit fast track a little bit more to quickly get into the sculpting phase. All right. No worries.